Today on News 4 at 4, we're working for you. An inside look at the local COVID vaccine trial for kids, what children reported days after getting the shot, and how it could impact the timeline of kids being vaccinated. Today at 4 p.m. on NBC4.
Tonight, it's The Voice Live rounds, and Nick Jonas wants his first win.
Let's get this done.
Who's got what it takes and whose dream ends here? Watch live and vote to save your faves. The Voice Live rounds, tonight on NBC.
Denise, tell me a story.
There once was a serial killer.
Is this for real?
Oh yes, Zelda. This is for real. Murderous Roots, a podcast dedicated to tracing the tangled ancestry of the terrifying.
We all come from somewhere.
New episodes come out every other Wednesday. You can find Murderous Roots at murderousroots.com or anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Hi, I'm Laura.
And I'm Joe.
And this is Crime Divers.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
You alright?
Yeah, I'm cold.
Oh, that's your fault. I'm quite cosy.
It's a miserable day today.
We're sitting cosy. Well, I'm sitting cosy with the little heater on.
Yeah, because you're sitting on a chair. I'm sitting on the floor next with my back against the door, and there's a draft coming in. So I'm glad you're comfy.
Well, you know, gotta look after yourself.
Right. Let's get on with it.
Okay, where are you? Where are we?
We are in America. What are you laughing at?
I don't know.
What?
I don't know. What's it called?
Teacher's pet. Should we just get on with it?
Teacher's pet.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go then. Let's dive in.
Let's dive in. Mary Catherine Schmitz was born on the 30th of January 1962 and was known as Mary Kay. Although I'm just going to call her Mary
Okay,
because
Mary's fine.
that's her name.
Yep. Fair enough.
Yeah, I just realised that. I think it's just because her name was Mary Catherine and people called her Mary Kay. And,
Oh, right, okay.
yeah,
But we'll just call her Mary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she was the fourth child of 7 and she was raised in a strict Catholic household. They lived in Tustin, California, USA. Her dad was a teacher turned politician and her mum, her mum was a chemist. I think she was a chemist before she had, 7 kids, because I can't imagine her still being working and having, with 7 kids and then...
No, definitely
Well, she
not.
could
Well, she might have.
Yeah. But in 1973, Mary's 3-year-old little brother drowned in their family pool while she played with another brother in the shallow end.
Oh, what a shame.
I know. She went to an all-girls Catholic school and then later she went to Arizona State University.
Mm-hmm.
In 1978, Mary's dad's political career was permanently damaged when it was found out that he had fathered 2 children out of wedlock with a former student of his.
Oh, God, right, okay.
From when he had taught political science at Santa Ana College.
Mm-hmm.
Because of this, her parents split up, but they later got back together.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I was just kind of like, it was a strict Catholic household, but yeah, her dad's...
Played away?
Yeah.
With 2 kids?
Yeah, maybe strict on the kids, but not actually on themselves.
Well, yeah, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, so one of Mary's brothers, John, he was the deputy counsel to President George Bush, and another brother, Joseph, was Inspector General of the US Department of Defense under President Bush as well, as a senior executive with Academy, or I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that, Academy, which is an American private military company.
Oh, right, okay.
And was a foreign policy advisor to President Donald Trump.
Cool.
So that's just, I just thought I'd give you a little bit of background
Yeah.
on her family because, what she's going on to do, I was quite surprised that she was brought up in a strict Catholic
Right, okay.
household.
But then maybe she was rebelling against that?
No, I don't think it's anything to do with that.
Oh, okay.
She's an adult. I don't think she was rebelling against anything.
Oh, okay.
Right, anyway, so when Mary was at Arizona State University, she met Steve Letourneau.
Steve.
Not actually sure.
We'll just go with Steve.
Yeah, I know, but she kept that name, so I'm not actually sure. I knew how to pronounce it when I was writing it, And I've just forgotten now because, it's
You
Jill.
can't read.
No, I've got a bad memory. What do you mean I can't read? Letourneau. You tell me what that says.
Laternal?
Laternal, I think.
Laternal.
It doesn't matter. So they later got married and they had 4 children together. So they moved to Alaska, where Steve found a job as a baggage handler for Alaska Airlines, and then after a year, he was transferred to Seattle. Mary went to Seattle University, and in 1989 she graduated with a teaching degree. So she began teaching 2nd grade at Shorewood Elementary School in the Seattle suburb of Burien. And this is where she met, apologise if I get the name wrong,
God.
Villy's right, that's his name.
Villy
Vualu. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his second name. Vualu.
Cool. Okay.
But his name's Villy.
Right.
So Villy was born on the 26th of June 1983. He came from a broken home. His dad was married 5 times.
Oh my God.
And Villy has 17 brothers and sisters.
Oh, good God. Wow.
He was in 2nd grade when him and Mary first met, as she was his teacher. So I think he was about 8.
Right.
I googled. So I think 2nd grade.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not really sure
Yeah.
on what age the things are in America.
So, and then later on, Mary then became Villy's 6th grade teacher. So by then he would have been 12.
Right.
Mary was a popular teacher, and she took Villy under her wing, and she encouraged his artistic talents. He spent time at her house, and she also encouraged a friendship between him and her oldest child, Steve, who was a year younger than Villy.
Right.
So 12-year-old Villy and his friends, they would show off in front of girls, and they would dare each other, ask out the girls in the class.
Yeah. Typical
normal.
boy stuff, yeah.
Just like normal kids' behaviour.
Yeah.
But Villy was dared to make a move on their teacher, Mary.
Oh. Okay.
Like that, just that, I found that strange. I thought it's one thing doing it in front of like all the little girls,
Yeah.
and
I would never, no.
No.
It's funny because I think of like my teachers now, and they were all like old. I mean, I know you can get younger teachers, obviously, but certainly in my time, like they were all like senior-ish age.
Yeah.
There was no like 20 odds or.
No, I can't even remember. I think
They all seemed old.
they all seemed maybe 40s, 50s,
Yeah.
60s even. Like,
Exactly. I mean, obviously, let's say, I know maybe there's younger teachers now and stuff.
yeah,
and
of course.
there are some about, but certainly in my experience, that it was definitely.
We don't think of teachers as being
No.
young and
No.
pretty and
No.
Anyway, but like Villy said that they would hide in the closet in her classroom and hope that she would walk past so they could look up her skirt.
Oh God.
So I think maybe a few of them like had a crush on her. And,
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
they were
okay.
just mucking about. So I don't think he actually made a move on her at this point. I think he began to show her a lot of attention. As he said, they did get close. Then soon after, Villy told Mary that he was in love with her.
Okay.
And he said he'd forgotten about the bet by now.
All right. Okay.
He was 12 and she was 34.
Oh no. No.
Now, what made me think of this is I thought, how old is Laura? Right? Laura's near that age. I don't know if you don't want me to say exactly what your
I'm
age
35.
is. All right, okay. I don't know if you want me to say exactly how old you are.
I'm 35.
So you're 35, so...
Just so you know, Jill's older. But yeah.
And could you imagine having any sort of thinkings or feelings of a 12-year-old boy?
No, that's just so wrong.
That's what I just...
No, wouldn't even enter my head.
No, exactly.
It's not even something that, definitely not. It's just not that. And if a boy came up and told me that he was in love with me, this 12-year-old,
I think I would just laugh and be like, "You're right."
I'm like, come on. And then
I think I would take that as your pals have made a bet with you or something like that. Like,
you wouldn't take it seriously.
No.
But then if you did feel like it was serious, I'm sorry, but I would be. If especially if it's in a school environment, I would certainly be telling
go to the head teacher,
and making him aware.
Yeah, definitely, of course. Like that's what probably 99% of teachers would do.
Exactly. You would have to make somebody aware because that's not right. That's not normal behaviour.
No.
of a 12-year-old to be hitting on
No.
their older teacher. I mean,
You're 12.
exactly. Come
Like,
on.
No.
No.
So by the time I was 13, they got physical.
Oh, so she was like quite happy for this then.
Now, they called it a relationship, which of course it wasn't. Of course it wasn't. It's child abuse.
Yeah.
I was
But
going
then
to say,
how do you... I mean, obviously I'm not, totally not excusing her in any shape or form, because she's the adult at the end of the day and she should know better.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, does he get a blame in it? Because if he's the one that's went to her...
she blames him.
Yeah, because but like, does anybody see it as him being like in our eyes? Like, should you see that as, well, yes, she is the adult, of course she should know better, she should never have let it happen. I get that part. But if he's the one that's went to her and go, oh, I love you, and initiated it and tried to initiate it, surely is there a sense of, does he get blamed for something? I'm not saying that's, there's like not just her fault, it's partly his fault too.
I don't think it's his fault, and I don't think he should be getting blamed for anything, because he's 13 and he doesn't know any better. She does.
Well, yeah, I mean,
and to me and to most people, I would think that is child abuse. She is taking advantage of
that.
Yeah,
I agree with that. Yeah,
maybe he does think that he's in love with her or whatever, but she's took advantage of that. Like, she should have squashed that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So I don't see. I mean, maybe some people would say, "Oh, well, he went." I mean, certainly in her eyes, she's like, "Well, he pursued me." But in my eyes,
but yeah, I mean, like, I agree. She should know better, regardless of that. But I just had wondered if, does anybody ever think of it on the other foot? I mean, everybody would obviously blame the adult, and quite rightly so, because she should know better. She should, like you say, have squashed it, etc. But how persistent was this boy? Was he like?
Well, I don't know how persistent. I mean, like, according to her, he was persistent, but but was he, or is that you just making up excuses?
To me, I mean, at that point, the boy,
it doesn't matter how.
Yeah, he should be removed from our class or whatever, if that's the case. But yeah,
it doesn't matter how persistent he was. He was a child.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, she is the adult, and she should be the more responsible one and stuff. Because you're right, kids are immature and.
And who's to know that he thought it was going to go any further? Because at the end of the day, to start off with, that was a bet.
Yeah.
So how? I mean, for all we know, he could have done that for a bet.
Mm-hmm.
And she's took advantage of that, and he's just kind of went, "Oh shit," and just kind of went along with it.
Yeah.
So I mean, he was 13. She must have been 35 by now. And plus, I mean, remember, she's married with 4 kids.
Well, yeah.
Like, that's not behaviour for a married woman with 4 kids.
Definitely not.
So they obviously tried to keep it a secret, but one night in 1996 they were caught in a car by the police. Someone had actually called the police saying that they thought there was a drunk driver in a car park.
Right.
I don't know why, don't know what was happening there, but
okay.
When approached by the police, Mary jumped out of the car and she was only wearing a t-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Whether she had knickers on underneath, they couldn't tell, because it was like obviously a longer t-shirt, but she obviously had bare legs. So.
Right, okay. Mm-hmm.
And then they saw a young child asleep in the car. Straight away, Mary said, "It's okay, I'm his teacher. His mum knows he's with me." Mm-hmm. One of the officers said, "Nah, it just didn't look right and needed to be looked into further," but yet nothing was done about it. It wasn't looked into. Mary was well known in the community. She was a good person. The police thought that Billy's mum knew where he was, so there was no crime there.
Right.
There's just...
Well, it's a bit odd. I mean...
Well, I was thinking, what if that had been the other way around, and that had been a male teacher, a male 35-year-old with a female 13-year-old?
Yeah.
I bet there's no way would they have just let him drive off and said, no, it's fine.
I mean, why would you be with your school pupil in a car park wearing nothing
but a t-shirt, and he's asleep in your car?
Yeah, I mean, that shouldn't happen. That wouldn't happen. Why would that happen?
Well, and even by chance that it was something innocent, surely they should have looked into that anyway.
Oh yeah,
just to be on the safe side.
Absolutely.
Just to do their job properly.
Mm-hmm.
But no, they just let her drive. All right, okay, it's fine, and let her drive off. So rumours did start to spread through the community that a female teacher was having an affair with a male student,
right,
and that the teacher was pregnant. But it was just rumour. And even on the front page of the local, it was even on the front page of the local paper.
Right, okay. There mustn't have been much else news going on in that time.
But no one knew who the rumours were about. They were just like, there's a pregnant teacher.
Right.
But despite the gossip, Mary and Billy, they still carried on.
See, I mean, surely you'd think that it would maybe have knocked some sense into her. And,
well, yeah, I mean, like,
would
you'd
have
think
stopped.
if there was rumours flying about, then Mary would have put an end to it.
especially after being, by the police.
That would be like, oh, that was a close call, like.
Yeah, this is not right.
No.
I mean,
But no, she was still even taking Billy back to her house, and they even had sex on the roof of the house.
of the house.
Yes.
Eh?
Well, they had a flat roof. It's not like our roofs, like you wouldn't be going up there. But yeah, it was like a flat roof, and
All right.
that obviously nobody could see up there, so
Right.
they'd
Okay.
be safe.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, I know. It's just disgusting.
It is.
So, I saw I did see interviews with them, and that this woman is something else, by the way.
Oh, right. Okay.
She said that she tried telling Billy to leave her alone and let her get on with raising her kids, and she said that Billy was the boss, like he was the boss of this, like basically everything happened. He, like, this really wound me up, like, because the interviewer had said, really, like, how hard was Billy kind of pushing it? How hard was
She has
he?
4 kids who she would be the boss of, but yet she can't be the boss.
Yeah, and like, well,
Okay.
that's what she was saying, and she turned around to Billy and she's like, "Who's the boss?" And Billy was just like,
Oh, so did they get interviewed together? Like?
"Yeah, they were getting interviewed together."
Right.
This is like later on. This is like when they're by this point, Billy was like in his 30s by this point.
Right. Okay.
So they're getting interviewed. Sorry, I should have explained that.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Who's the boss? Who's the boss?" And Billy just kind of looked at her like really awkwardly, as if to say, "What are you on about?" And she was like, "Who's the boss? Who was the boss? Who was the boss?" And like, because he wasn't answering her. He was kind of looking at her, going, "What the fuck am I meant to say here?"
Yeah.
And she just kept saying over and over, "Who was the boss?" And then she said to the interviewer, "He was the boss. He was the boss." And I'm like, "Oh, hen, oh, hen, like, oh, like, just." Why are you not taking any responsibility for this?
Yeah.
Like, you're saying that this 13-year-old child relentlessly pursued you because he was the boss.
So how? Like, I mean, maybe I'm jumping the story here, but
No, don't jump the story.
Well, I was just wondering why they were having.
No, don't jump the story.
Okay,
They
okay.
had an interview later, right? That's
Right.
all you need to know for now.
Okay.
Now you made me lose my place.
So
Yeah, so like, so like he was pursuing her, and she was making out that he was relentless, and it was like she was kind of making up out as if he was forcing himself into a relationship with her,
right. Okay.
and it was all him. It was not her. She, what was she supposed to do? This,
Like, say no because you're an adult.
yeah, he was a child. She should have been put a
Report
stop
him
to
if
it.
you have to.
Yeah.
Whatever you have to do, you would do it.
So a few months into their affair, she did actually fall pregnant
All right.
with Billy's baby.
Uh-huh.
And she was still married and living with her husband and kids.
And did he know about this?
Well,
Oh.
her husband Steve did suspect that she'd been unfaithful.
Uh-huh.
And then he found loads of handwritten letters between Mary and Billy that confirmed that his wife was in a sexual relationship with a child, basically.
Right. Okay.
So Steve moved out, and soon after, a relative of Steve's, I don't know why it wasn't Steve, but it was a relative of Steve, reported Mary's affair to the school district.
Right.
In March 1997, she was arrested and charged with child rape.
Mm-hmm.
Mary actually, she actually died last year, Mary.
Oh, right. Okay.
But she'd always said right up until the day she died, like, she didn't realise that she was committing a crime.
How could you not? How could you
I
not?
think basically what she was saying is, I think she was saying that she knew that it was kind of like wrong,
But she didn't
realise it was an actual crime.
Right. Okay.
And I'm like, surely in your teacher training,
They say to you,
You
do
would
not
be told
engage
that.
in a relationship with your.
surely you
people.
would be made aware that it was a criminal offence, surely. And surely just in your head you should know that anyway.
Oh, yeah. I mean, although it does happen. Like, there's been many more cases I've heard of pupils and their teachers entering into relationships. So it does happen, but
But surely they must know it's a crime for it to happen. But at the end of the day, you know that being a paedophile is a crime.
Mm-hmm.
You're having an affair with your student who's 13 years old. You're a paedophile.
well, surely you know the legal sex Gill Laura being able to, I mean, in the UK it's 16. I don't know if it's any different anywhere else, but
Yeah, it's different in different places.
that's illegal. You have to be 16 before you can have sex.
Well, exactly.
If somebody is older than 16 has sex with somebody younger than 16, then that's an offence, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. You're a paedophile.
Mm-hmm.
So that means you're committing a crime because you're a paedophile.
Yeah.
Duh. So she said if anyone had told her that there was a specific law that
that would make
says
the difference.
this is a crime, she wouldn't have done it.
Bullshit.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. Bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
So Mary hired her friend and neighbour David Gurkey as her lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
He told her that she had raped a little boy. He basically said to her, because that's what it was.
Yeah.
And she said, but it was love. I didn't make him do anything. If anything, he was wanting it. He was pushing for it. We're in love. How can it be a crime? David said he had to repeat many times and in different ways why it was a crime. But she just didn't seem to get it.
No. Right.
Because I think she must have been interpreting rape as in she was forcing him to do it.
I mean, if somebody says to you about rape, you generally think it is one person's forced the other.
But it's not.
But not when it comes to like a child. Then no, it's not.
He might have consented, but it's still rape. It's child rape.
Yeah, exactly.
And she just didn't seem to get that. And I'm thinking to myself, if you weren't a teacher, I would be thinking that you've maybe got learning difficulties or something like that, because you just don't seem to be getting it. Yeah. But then I'm thinking, but she's a teacher. She must be intelligent to be a teacher.
But then there's plenty of intelligent people that do have learning difficulties as well. I mean, because obviously this was back before maybe things were aware of things like that.
I don't know. I just don't understand how.
Or maybe it was just her form of denial. Maybe that's just the way she was like, nah. She was convincing herself that it was all that, so that she didn't have to, accept that she had committed a crime.
The court hearing, that it made international news. That's how big it was. Because the tabloids just couldn't get enough of it. Well, you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
But till the day she died, Mary always denied any wrongdoing.
Mm-hmm.
But during her court hearing, she did admit to breaking the law. So she said, quote, "Your Honour, I did something that I had no right to do, morally or legally. It was wrong, and I'm sorry. I give you my word, it will not happen again. Please help me, please help us all." End quote.
Okay.
But she was obviously just saying that to try and get a lighter sentence.
Well, of course.
Because if she's saying, I'm not really doing anything wrong, but you're admitting it in court.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So, even though Villy had been 12 when the affair began, Mary reached a deal with the prosecutors to get a lesser penalty by pleading guilty to the second-degree rape of a 13-year-old. And then, 2 months after being charged, Mary gave birth to a little girl called Audrey.
Mm-hmm.
So, because of the plea deal, Mary was sentenced to 6 months in jail.
6 months?
Yeah, the state wanted to sentence her to 7.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
But because of that plea deal, of pleading guilty, she got 6 months. That's nothing.
Jesus.
And Audrey, the baby, she was placed in the care of Villy and his mum. So I think his mum got sort of full-time.
Right. So he obviously wanted to keep the child, right? Okay.
Yeah. So Mary was released from prison after 3 months under strict parole conditions, forbidding any contact with Villy. But she ignored that. She was back with him as soon as she got out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that taught her nothing.
Oh, wow. Totally. And then what? And he quite happily welcomed her back?
Yeah.
Wow.
They were in love, of course.
Oh, okay. So he obviously didn't want her to get charged then?
No, he was still...
Like, besotted with her and wanted to be with her. And...
Yeah. I have my thoughts, which we'll get to later.
Right.
Obviously I'll sort of tell you the facts, and then I do, obviously, I have opinions.
Yeah.
So within weeks they were caught one night in the car. They had been to a movie and they were parked up and they were snogging.
Snogging.
They were snogging. Well, when I was doing the research, it was like, oh, they were making out, and I'm like, we're Scottish. We don't say making out.
No.
It just wouldn't seem
No,
right for me to say that we're making out.
They're getting off with each
They're
other.
getting off with each other. They're snogging. They're getting it on.
Basically, they're kissing passionately. For anybody that does not
They were
understand.
making out.
Yes.
People understand that. It's just not what a thing that I would say. So they're snogging.
Okay.
A police officer drove past and he saw the windows were all steamed up. So like he put the spotlight like on the car. So Billy, like he kind of jumped out of the car and went to leave because obviously they knew they were doing wrong. But the police officer told him like, no, stay where you are.
Yeah.
And he approached Mary. And Mary gave a false name at first, but unfortunately for her, like everybody knew who she was because obviously she'd been all over the papers and the news.
Yeah.
So she was arrested on the spot and hauled back to court to face the same judge who had ordered her to have no contact with Billy. So good on this judge. This judge sentenced her to a maximum of 7.5 years
Oh, well done.
in prison for breaking the no contact order.
She should have had that the first time, though, maybe.
Well, that's what they were pushing for the first time, but she got it reduced. And in the hope that she would like learn her lesson and she would stay away from him after that.
Yeah, but she didn't.
She couldn't stay away from him, so she got hauled back to jail.
Right.
Oh, and she was pregnant again.
Oh, for God's sake.
So, Mary and Billy's second child, Georgia, she was born while Mary was in prison. And like same again, the baby went to Billy's and his mum. But Mary thought that she was wrongly imprisoned. She said that she tried to take back the guilty plea when she realised that she had been tricked and coerced into it.
Right.
She said, well, now this really got me angry.
Right.
Quote, it's just absurd.
Absurd.
It's just absurd to think that 13-year-olds are not having sex and they're not pursuing it in a very deliberate, knowing way. It's absurd. They are not children. Like, what?
Oh, they are.
Right.
Legally.
There's nothing absurd about thinking that 13-year-olds aren't having sex because I'm sure a lot of 13-year-olds aren't having sex.
I agree that there probably is, yes.
Yes, of course there's some. Some are, some aren't. And legally they shouldn't be. And nobody thinks that they're... Well, I mean, there might be some people. Personally, I don't think that there are 13-year-olds that aren't having sex.
Yeah.
I'm sure they are.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm sure the majority of 13-year-olds aren't there yet.
No.
And I'm hoping they're not there yet.
Well, they shouldn't be, really.
But to say that they're not pursuing it in a very deliberate, knowing way, and they're not children. They are children. They're 13 years old.
They are, in the eyes of the law, children.
But even not in the eyes of the law.
Well, they are just children, yes.
Yeah, they're children. Like, they haven't got... There's a reason why there's laws about, the age of consent and all that kind of stuff. Because they're children. They don't have fully developed brains and all the rest of it.
It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous.
And I think that's her excuse with when it came to Billy. I don't think she says that she didn't see him as a child. This was her whole thing.
Right.
She didn't think that she was doing wrong because she didn't see him as a child. He was 13, 12 when he first started.
Where's our poor husband and 4 kids and all this?
Well, he's moved out.
Oh.
And he's obviously got the kids because she's been in jail. So while in prison, she secretly sent Billy love letters, and the pair had an arrangement allowing Billy to have girlfriends. He said he was dating while Mary was in prison, and because he wanted to live his life. But he did raise the daughters.
I kind of want to know what his mother thinks of it. I mean, obviously she's willing to keep the kids.
I'll get to that as well. There wasn't too much about it, but I will get to it. So they were determined that when Mary was released from prison, that they would live together as a family with their daughters, and it would be legal because Billy would be 21 by the time she gets out of prison. So when Mary was released, so in 2005, so that's what happened. She got released and they were living together. And in 2005, Mary and Billy got married.
Right.
So Mary would have been 43 and Billy would have been 22.
Right.
Which I don't really have so much... I don't have a problem with that. Like, they're of
legal age now, yeah.
Exactly. She did continue to see her other children from her previous marriage, but their relationship was strained, which I'm not surprised at. Mary worked as a legal clerk in the same courthouse where she had appeared being charged for rape.
Okay.
She's got no... What's the word?
Morals?
She just doesn't care,
does
she?
She's got some front to...
Yeah, she's got some front to kind of... Oh, yeah.
I'll take a job there, I don't care. Yeah.
Villy had dreamed of becoming an artist, but because he had to bring up the 2 children, that like he couldn't really. He had to go out and work, basically. So he was a builder's labourer. Mm-hmm. So they stayed together until 2017, when Villy filed for separation. But then he found out that Mary had colon cancer, and he returned to be her caregiver.
Right.
So she died on the 6th of July 2020.
Oh, right. So just
wasn't that
last
long
year.
ago, yeah. So after researching that, I was curious as to what Villy's family thought about it, because when I was researching, there wasn't much about. There wasn't anything about them. So I found an article from 2018, and Villy's mum said, "I can't say I hate Mary." And basically that's because of the children, because of her grandchildren. She looks at her grandchildren and she's like, well,
I love my grandchildren.
yeah, so I can't hate their mum, kind of thing.
Yeah.
She said that she didn't condone the relationship. She said it's really disrupted my family, and even to this day, because obviously Mary was still alive in 2018, she still disrupts our family.
Right.
Even to this day, Mary still abuses my son. I agree with that, which I will get on to. Villy, he had actually dropped out of high school and he struggled with suicidal depression and alcoholism, and he attempted suicide in March 1999.
Right, okay.
Which obviously wasn't in the interview that I was watching.
No.
In 2002, his mum, his family, they sued the Highline School District for emotional suffering, lost wages, and the costs of bringing up his 2 children.
Right.
Claiming the school and the police department had failed to protect him from Mary. There was a 10-week trial, but no damages were awarded. No. So they were putting him for it.
My question there was going to be, if the damages were awarded, was Mary getting to? Would she have had some of that money? Because if they were together,
oh
still,
right, yeah.
Maybe that's why they
I
didn't
don't know,
get
but yeah, like. So that's basically what I sort of found out about it. But and my opinion, as I said, was as I said, even to this day, Mary still abuses my son. When I was watching the interview, Villy barely opened his mouth.
Right.
I mean, bearing in mind he was like in his 30s by now, and
she was
to me it was like he was still being groomed.
Yeah, like she was like dominating him.
And it's like, obviously, she blamed him for everything. She never once took responsibility.
So why were they doing an interview together? Was that because it was just such a big story and they just were like talking about their relationship and? Yeah.
Why do you need a reason?
Oh, just
a lot of people do interviews after, like, and do documentaries and stuff like that, don't they?
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, like, obviously she groomed him. I'm sorry, I don't care how many times she says that he pursued her.
Yeah.
She groomed him, and I think that he only stayed with her
because of the kids.
Because he did an interview. I think I only watched a bit of it, but after Mary had died, so it was obviously only recently, he did an interview with some doctor or somebody, how you have these TV doctory people. And he said that he didn't want his children, because remember I said his dad was married 5 times, and he had all these brothers and sisters, so he didn't want his children to come from a broken home. He wanted his children to live with their parents, and I think that was a massive big bit of it, because and what I was thinking of as well, from when he was 12, 13 years old, his mindset was going to be a lot different to what it would be in his 30s.
Oh yeah.
And he was asked, well, what if that was you now? You're like 35 or whatever now.
Yeah.
Could you be with a 13-year-old girl? And he was kind of like, oh shit, again. But he did say no.
Yeah.
So I think he knows.
Yeah.
Of course he knows.
Well, yeah, of course he knows.
He's always known and was ashamed that it was wrong, but I think he's just went along with it.
Yeah, it does sound like that a bit, to be fair.
And she never once, I know she's dead, we shouldn't speak ill of the dead, but she never once took any responsibility for that.
I wonder I'd be interested to know what the kids know about it, because obviously the 2 kids that they had together, like...
What Georgia and...
Yeah.
Oh, they're fine, they're like, they were there as well.
Oh, were they?
Yeah, and they're just... They're just like, because the interview was like, well, do you understand why it was such a big deal? And I think it was Audrey, the older one, I think she was like 20, 21 or something by now, or by then anyway, and she was like, yeah, I think I understand, but I think to them it was just like, that's my mum and that's my dad.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
But she did refer to her dad, because they were like, well, do you think of him as sort of like a young dad? And she was like, yeah, he's like a friend dad. And I thought that was quite a strange thing to say because, like, I know people are close with their parents, and you can say, "Oh, that's my mum's my best friend, my dad's my best friend." But to say like a friend dad made me think that maybe it was Mary was the one who was doing all the disciplining. Yeah, I think she was just a very dominant person, and she
Sounds like it.
went for what she wanted, and she got what she wanted. And
She had a fucking husband and 4 kids. What more does she want?
and going to jail obviously never changed anything.
No, totally not.
But I'm assuming, I mean, it didn't really say anything about her time in jail, but surely she couldn't have had a very good time in jail.
No.
Because she would have been in, like, she was a paedophile.
Well, yeah. Fuck knows. Anyway, never mind. So is that the end of our story for today then? Well, thanks for that. I mean, that was good.
There you go. There's another one that wasn't a murder.
No murder. Cool. Well, awesome. Thanks.
If you would like to follow us on Instagram or Twitter, we are.
crime_divers_pod.
Our Facebook group is.
Crime Divers Podcast.
Our email is.
crime_divers_pod at outlook.com.
Our TikTok is.
Crime Divers Podcast.
Our YouTube is.
Crime Divers Podcast.
And remember, we have an offer on for Patreon. If you would like to join before the end of June, you will get August for free. And that is patreon.com/crimedivers.
And also, if you do enjoy our episodes and listen to us, please don't forget to subscribe.
No.
I thought we had this nailed, Joe. Subscribe, rate, review. Bye.
Today on News 4 at 4, we're working for you. An inside look at the local COVID vaccine trial for kids, what children reported days after getting the shot, and how it could impact the timeline of kids being vaccinated. Today at 4 p.m. on NBC4.
Tonight, it's The Voice Live rounds, and Nick Jonas wants his first win.
Let's get this done.
Who's got what it takes and whose dream ends here? Watch live and vote to save your faves. The Voice Live rounds, tonight on NBC.